Hi, I'm Michelle Schultes from Hangry District, and today we are in the Hangry District kitchen with Brendan. And Brendan has a problem that he needs solved. So what are we doing today?
So I ran out of gas on my grill, but I would really like to make some cheeseburgers. And I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it on the stove.
Perfect. I don't have a grill, so I have the best solution for you of how to make the best cheeseburger inside using a cast iron skillet or a griddle. So Brendan, first things first, we need some ground beef. Yes. My favorite ground beef to use is a ground chuck or sirloin in an 80-20 fat to meat ratio, which means it's 20% fat, 80% lean. Today we have local ground beef from Open Book Farm in Maryland. I'm all about using local ingredients when possible, and especially when there's a farmer's market walking distance, you can pick up everything you need for a cheeseburger, even in November. The first thing we want to do is season our beef. We're going to lay it out on a platter or some sort of tray so that you can easily season your meat all the way through. If you want to give me a hand with the pepper, and I'll use the salt. I'm going to season liberally all over the meat because you want to have some good flavor in there. I think you just pushed it. Well, these things happen. You can use any kind of pepper, even if your fresh pepper grinder doesn't work. Mm-hmm. We'll just use the finely ground pepper. Okay? So now it will be amazing. So from here, you want to make sure you don't overmix your meat. That is one thing that most people do. They want to get in there and just mix over and over, but we're not going to do that. After you salt and pepper, you can add your special ingredients. And I have the 3 best ingredients for a burger that just enhances the flavor, gives it a little spice and a little tang. So we're going to add that now before we mix so we don't overmix. We're going to add some mustard. I'm just gonna grab a spoon here. I basically have to use French's mustard. It's my favorite. I love yellow mustard. So we're gonna add about a teaspoon. Then about a teaspoon of sriracha.
Like your burger spicy.
I do. And it doesn't really, it's not really that spicy once you combine it all together and you put it on the stove. And then my favorite ingredient, Worcestershire. So we're just gonna pour on about a teaspoon or so, and that'll also add some moisture. So if you have an aversion to spicy things, like a reaction to your hand, like jalapenos, I would not suggest mixing this with your hands because of the sriracha, yes. But I'm basically immune. So we're gonna just mix this very gently until it's all combined.
So would you not recommend using an egg then?
No, I don't like meatloaf burgers. That's more of like a meatloaf type style. I'm all about the meat. Growing up, my dad, he's a huge meat guy. So he taught me that you just make hamburgers with beef. He didn't even add any sort of other ingredients. He would just take ground beef, make it into a patty, put it on the grill.
So it's simple.
Yeah, and I showed him how to kick it up a notch and add some flavor to it. So that's as combined as we need it to be. I'm gonna give my hands a rinse, and then we will form the patties. So another tip to know when forming your patties is, when you go to restaurants, you see the perfect patty. It's uniform, it's a nice disc shape, and this is the key. So if you wanna help me, we'll form some patties.
I'm gonna wash my hands.
All right. We're going to take about 5 ounces, which is about the size of a female's palm. We'll see what Brendan's palms are like. Oh, perfect, the perfect female size.
Maybe I have small hands.
So you're just gonna take the ball and just kind of go back and forth in your hands without pressing too hard or mashing the meat. So you form the ball. So that's about a perfect little ball.
So good hand-eye coordination for this.
Yeah. And then, once you have your ball, you'll take it, put it on your tray, and then you're just gonna flatten it out a little bit to a disc shape. and the key is to press a dent into the top of the burger.
What does a dent do?
So the dent is necessary to keep the shape in a disc. Otherwise, you'll notice that your burger will puff up like a ball, and that's gonna make you wanna press it down on the griddle or the stove or the grill, which is a no-no. So
Lose all the juices, right?
So we're gonna make some smaller ones with the rest of this in slider style, and then we'll get cooking. So I prefer to cook my cheeseburgers indoors on a cast iron skillet. I think it creates a really nice crust on the burger, and it really locks in all the flavor and the juices. You can also use a griddle if you have a griddle for your stove. So I have preheated our cast iron skillet over medium heat, and I'm just gonna let that get really hot. And since we're cooking burgers that have fat in them already, I'm not going to coat my pan with any other fat. If you're using a grill, you can always oil the grates with some oil. That just helps it from sticking, but we don't need to. Okay, so our pan is smoking, which means it's nice and hot. And we have our patties that I'm gonna season again. You wanna season them again before you cook them so that when you take the bite of the burger, you taste lots of seasoned meat. And we've also seasoned them prior so that the inside of the meat is seasoned as well. So some salt and pepper. Season both sides, but I'll season the second side once they're in the pan. Okay, I'm gonna put the big boy on first. That's what you wanna hear.
Do you have a set time that you prefer, or do you do it by feel?
Set time for cooking the burgers. If it's the bigger burger, about 4 minutes on each side for medium rare, 5 minutes for medium. The sliders, it's gonna be about 3 minutes on each side for medium. I like my burgers about medium. So now we'll season the other side. This is the time where I'll usually get all my condiments ready. I'll slice my onion, my tomato, make any sort of sauce I'm gonna serve with it. We're gonna keep it simple today. I like to keep the ingredients simple, but bold flavors. So we have 1 more minute, and these should be good to go. So what I've done is I've actually gone ahead and wiped out our pan that we used with the leftover grease and fat. And I'm just gonna heat it up again over low. And I haven't rinsed it, I've just wiped it out with a napkin. And I'm gonna toast our buns a little bit. So we're gonna let those go, and I'm gonna have you chop an onion for an extra condiment. Have you sliced onions before?
I have.
Perfect. So what's your technique?
So generally I like to chop off the end, and then I'll half it.
Okay.
And then go from there, depending on
Perfect.
how it needs to be chopped.
Okay, I'm gonna let you do this so I don't ruin my makeup on camera. My favorite topping on a hamburger or cheeseburger is tomato, a fresh tomato. We're just about at the end of this tomato season, but I was able to find some local tomatoes at a farmer's market. So I've gone ahead and sliced them already, but the key point to make when creating a cheeseburger and using a tomato is to absolutely salt and pepper your tomatoes before you put them on the burger. So
Really brings out the flavor, doesn't it?
oh yeah, there's this restaurant in Frederick, Maryland called Volt, and I had a burger there. The first time I ever ate it, I was like, what makes this so different? And the chef there just told me it's all about salt and peppering your tomatoes, because the tomato was just so flavorful and juicy. So if you want to give this pepper grinder another try.
Try it again.
Perfect. I'll add a little salt. And then we'll do the other side too. Constructing a burger, I like to think about, what my tongue is gonna taste when I bite into it. So that's why you wanna make sure each layer is seasoned, because the tomato is usually on top of the burger. But you could put it on the bottom if you wanted to mix it up. Okay. So we're gonna top it with some aged cheddar, shredded, freshly shredded. You can use shreds that are already shredded in the bag. However, those have some potato starch coating them, so they don't melt as easily, and they just have a little bit more of a starchy texture and flavor to them. And the secret ingredient for me are pickled green beans from Number One Sons. It's a local DC company that makes fermented and pickled creations, and they are delicious. So I love dill pickles, dill anything on a burger. I think you need that tang from the vinegar. So we're gonna just kind of dice some up here and add them on. Gives it a nice crunch too. I think texture is really important in a cheeseburger. I'll just pop these on. Sometimes you can put it under the tomato to keep it on there.
Would you ever consider sauteing the green beans?
I would not, because I like to keep that crunch. And the sauteing the green beans will just make them a little bit more soggy. And I really am all about the crunch factor. I even put chips on my burger sometimes.
Potato chips?
Potato chips, Doritos, whatever you like. Okay, so condiments. Ketchup, mustard.
Yeah, let's do both.
All right, I'm gonna have you get the ketchup out of the fridge, and I'll slather on some mustard. I'm a French's yellow mustard gal. So we'll just slather this on. I often wonder why they don't just make a condiment that's ketchup and mustard mixed together. I think that's $1 million idea, patent pending. But that would make it really convenient. Wanna give it a squirt?
Yeah.
Good. You don't want too much, because you don't want the condiments to overpower the burger. Okay, it's time. Are you ready to taste?
I'm ready.
Okay. We're gonna give this a slice. And we're gonna serve them up to our friends. This is the moment of truth. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes. All right.
You can see it's nice and juicy,
Looks amazing.
medium. Okay, cheers.
That's a good burger.
Bun to meat ratio is on point. Not too much bread.
Still juicy inside.
Cheese is melted. That's how you make a cheeseburger inside on the stove. Thanks for watching Hangry District.